just slow down a few minutes a day. Well, I don't have time. What if you created time? What if you set your alarm for 10 minutes early in the morning? Well, that sounds stupid. Well, what if you just practiced it? Let's just see. Well, I can't control my thoughts. Well, that's not the idea. The idea is to become aware of what the voice is saying. Because if you don't even know, if you've not paid attention, it could be driving your life in moments where you would rather be calm. We've seen a lot of leaders actually say things out loud that are not emotionally intelligent. That person clearly doesn't have a relationship with their own frequency, or they do, and it's not something that is resonant with our frequency.
Drugs, sobriety, meditation, triggers, and even Kegels. We're going to get into it all today as we talk to the author of the book Coming Triggers, where we learn all sorts of amazing things from incredible coach Whitney Kell out of Boca. And she helps successful people turn triggers into truth and close the gap between outer success and inner peace. We're going to get deep into meditation and some other really cool things that is getting in the way, what's holding us back from true success. Welcome, Whitney.
Yay, me too, Eric. Thank you for having me on. I love Speakeasy. I feel very fortunate to have found the rooms. And, I think this is a great conversation because everybody in Speakeasy is a hustler, a badass. They're creating massive momentum. And then it's interesting when I ask about the spiritual side, what is going on there? And I haven't found yet. I'm sure there's people that are participating actively in, you know, deactivating themselves, but those rooms activate people, yes or no? When you're around your peers and you're in a mastermind, it's so exciting. So I'd be curious to hear how many people out there are actively practicing either meditation or doing something to get to know themselves at a deeper level.
I love it. Well, I'm definitely guilty. I suck. I'm excited to learn from you. And so, all things meditation and other ways we can release some of these triggers. I want to get into a lot really just defining triggers and what they mean so we get more clarity on it. Before we go there, I want to hear a little bit of your background and then I want to get into some great wins we're all going to take away from this podcast, other than knowing that you were out by my hood in San Diego for a while. But let's go before that. Whitney, tell me a little bit about your background and how we got to where you are today.
Sure. Yeah. The triggers and the reason why I ended up writing the book and I have the podcast is because I trigger people. I built a huge organization. I helped build a really large MLM and I worked with thousands of people, doctors. I actually trained doctors. But before that, what happened, what the trigger was before that is my mom passed away 2 years before I started my career and she died an alcoholic. And that was a trigger for me to make a choice, right? I could saw
Mhm.
two roads, two paths ahead of me. Which one was I gonna take? And fortunately, I had a partner who presented me with options. He's like, "Look, you can either come and hang with me and we can do this relationship or not." But I
Mhm.
had to become sober in order to do that. So the
Mhm.
trigger of stepping up was my first opportunity to look at, was I really ready to change my life? And I stopped drinking. First, I set my sobriety date, which was 2000. So I chose my sobriety date. Now, I also did, not to get too graphic, but I did crystal meth and cocaine. I'm from Oregon, where
Oh,
everybody does crystal meth. And I
wow.
partied like a rock star. We had huge parties. I was the Sunset House until I was 21. And there was a point when I turned 21 and I thought, I can no longer keep partying like this. People my age
Wow.
don't do this. I'm 21
Yeah.
years old at a bar, just anyway, so I stopped at 21 doing the stimulants, which now I know because I have ADHD, which is
Mhm.
actually just Adderall. That should
Mhm.
package it up and give it to you. And then fast forward, I had an opportunity faced with an option to be in a relationship with a man, and he wanted a healthy girlfriend. And I was like, I can do this. My mom passed away. She died really unhappy, and I witnessed her demise and alcoholism. And I said, what the hell? I can do anything for a year. So,
Mhm.
the trigger of transformation, I decided to step into it and tried it out for a year. It's been 26 years later. And I built this company 2 years into it. What I learned is in A, there's this 12th step, and it's where you take somebody else through the same thing you've done. And I've been lucky enough to have some of your members put their
Yep.
arm around me and take me through some businesses and things that they've done, like the AI. It's like, wow. And when
Yep.
somebody actually gives you something that they've earned and that they've actually practiced, not only do they learn it at a deeper level while
Mhm.
they're teaching you, and you learn it at the same time. So fortunately, I only was able to sponsor one person in AA. I was in AA for about 9 years, and then I moved into becoming a coach, and I started training coaches. Built a multi-billion-dollar company. It's a publicly traded company, and I was one of the coaches in that group, and it changed my life. And the one thing, and I don't wanna go too fast and too far forward, but the thing that I know for sure is that physical, mental, and financial well-being was part of the soup that I was building, and a lot of people don't have that. My business is being a health coach.
Right.
So, teaching health and being healthy, I mean, I started when I was 31, I'm 55 now. If I hadn't done that, I love nicotine and cigarettes. I
Yeah.
love drinking. I'm a party girl. So, had I not done what I did and decided that it's time to become an adult and started progressing personally and in my business, I have no idea where I would be. But having a mentor or somebody who actually said, "Step up," and handed me his hand was probably one of the biggest triggers that I'm most grateful for that helped me change. And that's where I
Yeah.
learned about masterminds too. That's why I'm part of this mastermind. I'm like, "Holy smokes."
Yeah. Well, I wanna go back to
Yeah.
something. So you said, you were at that I kinda almost call it sometimes, you look back at life and it's like choose your own adventure. Like if I went down path B versus A, how much different my life would have been. And so at that point, was the person that grabbed your hand, was that the person you were dating? Who said, "Hey, I want you to go." Okay, so he said, "Look, I'll help you through this." You were in puppy love at 21 or love at that time, whatever
28.
we call. Oh, 28. I think you said 21, this was the time. Okay, so you're party up
21, I
until.
stopped crystal and coke. 28 is when
Okay,
I fast
so
forward to
partying.
stop alcohol. Oh, yeah.
Okay. So you were there and you definitely were at the point where you had to go check yourself in. It was to that point at 28, you made the decision. You chose love and next path, which obviously look back in life and say, damn, I chose the right path. Thank God. How many people didn't go down that path and what their life's been? And you've seen a lot of these. Okay. So, wow. Okay. So that was a big decision and you were triggered. You were triggered for a while, went there and you got healthy and you went these pieces. Now you could talk the talk, you could coach it, and you have now you visualize, you could see kind of other people, what they've done because you've been down that path. Cool story. Congratulations for staying sober all that long. That's amazing. Yay. As you and I talked, not missing much. I don't drink that much anyway, so it's all good. But anyway, on to triggers. I'm going to talk about that. I want to get into meditation. I'm a failure there, so I'd love to get some guidance from you on that. We could talk about that for all of us that just can't go there. So many other people that smack me around and say, Eric, you're missing out.
Well,
Triggers.
I'd love
Yeah.
to do something with you if you'd be
Oh,
open to it. It's a little
sure.
coaching experience, which
Yeah.
I'm sure you've done before, Eric. But if we did
Okay.
that, then I could identify whether or not meditation is the next step really for you.
We're doing live in the flesh. Let's go.
Yeah, let's do it. Well,
All right.
everyone consider this that's watching. So just
Yeah.
imagine. So close your
Okay.
eyes, take a deep
Yep.
breath, hold it at the top, and let it out. Normally, I do this several times to get you embodied. What I want you to do with your eyes closed is imagine your 10 physical health. You're in the best shape of your life. God, you feel so good. You're sleeping through the night. You're at goal weight. Your 10, your physical 10. Can you see it? Can you feel it, Eric? What's it feel like? Give it a word if you don't mind.
Energy, confidence.
Hmm. Yes. And if you think about that 10 and you open your eyes, where are you now in this moment compared to that number? What would you give yourself a score right now, knowing every day changes?
God, it's hard for me. Where was I before? I don't know because I was. I don't. It's high, I have a hard time feeling like where I was in a scale 1 to 10. I think I was maybe up a notch or two.
So,
Uh,
did you feel into that 10? What was happening when you were imagining yourself at your 10 out of curiosity?
I think I was just more imagining that hitting. I mean, for me, my why, big why, is being 54 and right behind you, trying to catch up to you, and having two little kids. In the back of my mind is ultimate health and well being, and it enables me to stay. I want to stay old as long as possible, knowing I'm an old dad, so I can watch the joy of my kids. That's a big driver for me. So I think it was a little bit of a okay in that moment. I felt really good because I felt confident that I'm going to live longer to see my kids
Yeah.
longer.
I love it. And
Yeah.
so, what I would invite you to do, Eric, is practice feeling into that every day if you can. But let's go into the mental health. We'll do the financial, and then I'll kind of wrap it up and tell you just a little bit about a practice that everyone can do every single day that I learned from Dr. Joe Dispenza. I went to
Okay.
4 of his events, which is 36 hours of meditation. So
Wow.
we got your 10. Did you give yourself a score right now in this moment from a 1 to a 10? What would you just give yourself? If you know where your 10 is, how close are you to that?
I mean, right now before my 10, I was 7.
You'd give yourself a
That's
7 right
where I
now.
am today, yeah, or just fucking before when you and I started this call, probably a 7 or 8. Yeah,
Okay. We could go 7.5. So your health
yeah,
is 7.5. So we're going to do the same thing with the mental. Let's close our eyes, take a deep breath. I like to squeeze and imagine light running through my body. Breathe in, hold it at the top, and let it out when you're ready. Now I want you to imagine the most happiest dream life. You're giggling with your family. Everything is joy. You're so grateful every single day when you wake up. Relationships are tight. You have no drama. Everything is running smooth. Joy, bliss, time for spirituality. You're 10. Can you imagine it? So feel into what's that 10 feels like.
Yeah.
Take a breath. Yeah, breathe it in. And then open your eyes slowly and tell me where you are in this moment compared to that 10.
6.5, 7.
Okay, we'll give you a 6.5. And then we're going to do financial well being. You ready?
Okay.
Let's close our eyes, take a deep breath, hold it at the top, and let it out. Now I want you to imagine what total abundance feels like in your body. What's it feel like to be free? Never having to worry about paying a bill, savings for the future, families taken care of. You are a 10 in your financial well being. The feeling that you're giving away money, you've got so much abundance. Let's breathe that in. You're 10. Get into the 10. Can you feel it?
Mhm.
And what are you in this moment compared to that number?
6.
Excellent. Okay, so when we look at your puzzle now, you have a really clear idea. First of all, congratulations. I need to say this because I have coached people in Kansas, Hutchinson, Kansas, St. Louis, Missouri. A lot of people are, some people are,
2
it's
and
not
0.
easy out there. We're in the top 5% of the population here. Anybody
Yeah.
listening to this is fortunate because you have your survival needs taken care of. So, Eric, you're doing really well. So, I just want to give you a really good congratulations because you're B plus, A minus. 10 in physical is really close. You've only got a couple things to adjust. But if you think about what are the things that I need to invest into in order to take my 7 to a 10 or my 6 to a 10 or my 6.5 to a 10, and you get clarity around what those things are. And then I would just break it down daily into what would move the dial forward. Where I like to start with everyone is meditation.
Mm. Okay, so we'll dig into it. You and I talked about this in the green room. So,
Yeah.
meditation, you're a huge fan. Talk to me about it. What do you love about it? Why do you see a lot of us entrepreneurs aren't doing it? What's holding us back? And what's a good way for us to start?
Yeah. So I want to answer the question you asked me initially too is what is the trigger? So
Yeah.
trigger for me is an overwhelming feeling when I'm communicating with someone, when I'm depending on the activity I'm doing, I'll just get overwhelmed, flooded with an emotion. I got to act. That feeling. Has anybody ever had that? It could be
Oh, yeah.
a fight, could be drunk in Vegas, you get married. We don't know. Everybody has different triggers. It can be bad, it can be good. But what meditation allows for is a sober second. For me, what meditation has allowed me to do, because I can go from 0 to psycho in 30 seconds flat, especially driving. Driving is
Mhm.
my biggest trigger
Uh-oh. Yeah.
because I just like the horn, like it's well used here in Florida and people drive without their signals. So you just never know what's going to happen. It's wild. And so if you take that into a business life, how much risk a lot of people are taking, how much you leverage, I feel like the bigger you wanna build your empire, the deeper you wanna dig your soul connection, your daily frequency check-in, where I meditate every single day in the morning, I drop into Mother Earth, I fill myself up, and the one thing that that's allowed me to do is not need other people to validate me.
Mm.
So I've gotten to a place where I know myself. So whether you tell me I'm cute or ugly, that's more of a reflection of you. It's not necessarily mine unless I choose to take it on because I'm at
Mm.
choice, because I've taken the time out to get quiet enough times to know the difference between my energy and yours.
Mhm.
And when things come up or opportunities come through for me, I check in. I'll sit
Mhm.
with myself. And I once had a coach say to me, Wit, you've mastered doing. Now I want you to master being.
Love it.
And when you master the present moment and you start to really, I mean, your kids, you think about everybody out there who's got kids, trigger, right? Like
Oh, yeah.
your little person of you, I moved in with one of my girlfriends and I thought I was going to help her, be more intimate with her husband. Everything was going to be glory days. 4 nights of no sleep. And I was ready to lose my mind with that kid. And I was just like, I totally understood why some parents leave, mental illness. It's wild. I don't have children. So I have so much respect for you, Eric. My God, it's every day you wake up, whether it's your spouse or your kids, your business, and you are triggered. And what happens when you feel triggered? Everybody's different. But Eric, can you think of, for me, it's traffic. What's your biggest trigger? Do you know? Could you name it?
I mean, I think certainly, as you said kids. I think just, you're so used to a certain routine, it's hard to mentally go back to, okay, they're just 5 and 2, like little things and the messes and this and that. And it, you have to take a step back. I think of the business, I think a couple triggers are when, even recently I got screwed over on a business thing and it's rare that happens, like really triggering when people try to manipulate, they don't follow through on their commitments. Just a lot of, those are the kind of things that get me worked up a little bit.
Yeah, I totally understand. I mean, and when somebody does something like that, it's really hard not to take it personal or to make yourself wrong or go into that self talk or go into the spin cycle where you're just obsessing and then sleep at night gets a little
Yep.
tougher, right?
Yeah, yeah, rare. That's the only time I'm a good sleeper, except for when something like that triggers me.
Right. So my invitation or, suggestion is to consider what would happen, Eric, if every day in the morning before you run and have fun with the kids and the business, every day you took a few minutes. And I think the studies are 24 minutes. They did studies on children. 24 minutes actually will change the brain on a child. And they showed this in schools that when they meditate, everything is easier.
Mm.
Children are calmer. So if you consider for yourself, I do it in the morning and at night. But even if you just sat, have you ever sat just in silence and just sat there to listen to your thoughts?
I've tried meditating a couple times before, so I've done it that then. I think the closest I know, this is a laughable, like, the closest I would ever do is when I'm sitting in the shower just thinking, and all of a sudden I'm like, God, I'm next thing, and I've been in there for 10 minutes just down a rabbit hole thinking about something because I don't have
Brilliant.
many distractions, which so yeah.
This show is brought to you by High Level, the AI driven business operating system trusted by over 2 million businesses to help automate, scale, and create real leverage. High Level isn't just a tool, it's the engine behind some of the most agile and high performing teams on the planet. If you're ready to streamline everything, amplify your reach, and actually build a business that works for you, you're in the right place. Visit www.gohighlevel.com/speakeasy-mastermind-promo to get an exclusive 30-day trial for being a listener of the Inside the Speakeasy podcast. Enjoy the show.
Well, I think water is a spiritual experience, and there have a lot of ceremonies that include washing the body, washing the hair, washing the hands, and you get downloads. So,
Yeah.
my invitation to men like you who are fucking brilliant, and not just men, but all of the speakeasy members that might be listening to this, your brilliance, your power, your ignition, it's all inside. And if you don't take time out long enough to sit with yourself, then that dial, that tuning fork, if you think about we're all instruments and you're not taking the time to tune yourself before going out and starting to energetically deal with the world, I would say that because I meditate, I have saved myself from multiple relationships with criminals. There are a lot of criminals here. I found people finders. You look people up on people finders. In business, just recently, I could feel in my body. So when you're with somebody and you're embodied and you've taken the time out to sit with your body and be in it and let your brain shut the front door just for a minute. Like everybody wants to think their way to what this is a soul journey. If you believe that we're energy, what if you started tracking the energy in your body? And when you're in the presence of other people, you start paying attention to where does that energy go? Where is it trapped? Am I having a burning sensation? Is it joy? Is it excitement? Like, where is it? And if you started tracking what you felt, my guess is, Eric, and I don't know for sure, but you're brilliant. Look at you created this program that I'm in, and many, many other very successful people have chosen. Magnetically, you drew us into your vortex, and you're bringing in so much energy. You dialing your own, my guess would tell you immediately. if the frequency difference, if it's like static when they come in, and then you start testing it against certain behaviors or ways and methods and start paying attention to how that person feels against what you're noticing, you can get rid of people fast. And I know
Right.
that because I'm single and I've been single for 9 years and I'm dating in Florida. And I'm telling you, thank God I meditate because there have been, I mean, one guy who was at the Boca Raton Club. I don't know if I should say this out loud, but so this guy asked me out and I'm like, he's the cutest, he's really nice. And I get this feeling and I text my money guy and I said, "Hey, I met this guy." He goes, "Tell me his name. Tell me who he is." And I said, "Hey, I am going to run your numbers through the FBI check." And he's like, "I'm going to federal prison next month on the
Oh my
3rd."
God.
So you'll start to know and notice. And I trigger people. That was a question that was very direct. I have no fear of asking or saying whatever's coming through
So,
me.
so you're saying one of the, I'm just trying to takeaway. So one of the benefits takeaways to get us crazy entrepreneurs into trying new things when we have a million things going on is, well, the calm, but what I'm hearing you say is the intuitive side for us to be able to detect things, people, other energies around us that normally we would not necessarily detect because we're two in our heads.
Well, my guess is, Eric, you have overrode some of this stuff, so you're really good at it, or you wouldn't be as successful as you are, right? Because success has patterns. So you've done an outstanding job of getting to where you are. My invitation to you is that you have that much power, that much magnetism. What if? And I'm not telling you it's true. I want you to test it. Practicing lifting weights. What does that do? If you practice lifting weights every day, you get muscles. What
Right.
if you practice getting quiet every day and dropping into your breath? I love Wim Hof. I started with Wim Hof. I
Hmm.
do Dr. Joe. I took an energy course for 2 years. It walks you through energy in your body and where people leave trauma. If you think about you get in a car accident, where are you traumatized? Where do people squeeze? And
Hmm.
how you can actually release some of that energy. And when you release something, there's more space. There's clear. It's like you're tuning your antenna. So yes, in answer to your question, and we started with this, how I have gotten so tuned in clarifying your energy versus mine, the triggers that I create, sometimes it's intentional. Sorry, people that I've triggered out there.
Yeah.
But, if I know that we're not a good match, I may confront you with something and
Mhm.
say something. I interviewed 6 doctors before I had heart surgery. And one of the doctors, I said, "Can I ask you a question?" And I knew exactly what was going to happen. He got up and walked out on me. He goes, "Are you crazy? You're going to make it about this." Every single doctor told me exactly which valve to get, except for the one I chose. He's the only one who asked. So, my point to you is that once you know your energy, your frequency, yourself, then the static that comes in, now you can tune that out or in based on how clear your vessel is, how trigger free you are. Then when
Mhm.
someone comes in, you're really clear. Oh, that's mine, that's theirs. Okay. And when I know that somebody can, when they know, so I'm coming from love. I'm a love
Mhm.
bug. I always come from
Mhm.
love. So even though I said to this doctor, can I say it out loud what I said to him?
Sure.
I said, "Can I ask you a question?" He goes, "Absolutely." He leaned in and I said, after he told me I should get the mechanical valve, I said, "Why do men think that they can tell women what to do with their bodies?" So that triggered him. He got
Yeah.
upset. He lost his shit, which showed me who he would be in an operating room with my heart. I got an aggressive little heart. She's
Yeah.
wild. So, do I want to know immediately who somebody is right away before getting into business with them? Absolutely. Do I
Yeah.
want to know who somebody is before getting into a relationship? Yes. So triggering people can also have a positive effect. If you don't want that person around, well, there's questions you can ask. The eye doctor the other day, she walked out on me too. I'm really good at this lately. There's only two, and they've both been impersonal because I train doctors for a living. When you are clear on your frequency, when you take the time out to really dial it in, really get to know yourself. Then you have clarity on the type of people that your energy is going to want to dance with. Who do you want to bring in? Who's going to stay? And it's nice that you got to know. Hopefully, it wasn't too late, Eric. Your intuition kicked in, or your awareness, or whatever came in. You knew that person was no longer a fit, right?
Mhm. Yep.
And hopefully you got out before it was bleeding. That was an opportunity. There's patterns that are being shown to us all the time, but because we're not embodied, we can't feel them.
Right.
And men are thinkers. I mean, women are too, but we're more of an intuitive. So if you can tap into the feminine of the intuition of what the energy is happening all around us, I think the balance will come back in, and most people that are entrepreneurs would feel so much happier.
Yeah. So why do so many of us entrepreneurs not do this?
The wild addiction to achieving. Like, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm in it. I built a multi-billion dollar company, and for 17, 18 years, I traveled all over 2 weeks out of every month. I loved it. Building is so I feel so good. It's that addictive energy and that frequency. But when you're
Mhm.
only on it's kinda like one flavor of ice cream all the time. What would happen if you stepped off of that? And there's a book I love, by the way. It's called No Contest: The Case Against Competition by Alfie Kohn. And he teaches us have you heard of that book?
Sounds interesting though. Yep.
Oh, it's so good. And he teaches us from childhood how they program us in school. "Oh, great job, Eric. You're so smart." Every other kid in the room gets like, "What?" And then with your own kids, you're giving one kid attention, the other one feels the way that we create competition in society is through developing insecurity inside of us. Like, that is what
Mm.
really drives competition. So that addiction is to prove to mom and dad, prove to ourselves, prove to that girl or that guy from, whatever, proving that we're good enough and we're going after it. And that high is so joyful. So my invitation is, and I've done this with doctors, like, what if you just slow down a few minutes a day? Well, I don't have time. What if you created time? What if you set your alarm for 10 minutes early in the morning? Well, that sounds stupid. Well, what if you just practiced it? Let's just see. Well, I can't control my thoughts. Well, that's not the idea. The idea is to become aware of what the voice is saying. Because if you don't even know, if you've not paid attention, it could be driving your life in moments where you would rather be calm. And we've seen a lot of leaders actually say things out loud that are not emotionally intelligent.
Mm.
That person clearly doesn't have a relationship with their own frequency, or they do, and it's not something that is, for me, resonant
Mm.
with our frequency. They have theirs, and it's like, and so then they hit the bell, and everybody else who's like this is gonna come running. Yes or
Yeah.
no?
Yep. So to start, for those that have been resistant, what is the easy sort of, okay, let's have you crawl before you walk, build some momentum, get some wins with
Mhm.
respect to, let's say, meditation and getting building up the intuition. How many minutes? What do you recommend? And what do we do
That's a great
with our start?
question. What I started with was breath work, and that got me super high. What I would invite anybody listening to this is to set your clock on your phone for 5 minutes. Because my therapist said, "Do 20." And I said, "Fuck you, I'm not doing 20."
Yeah.
He goes, "Can you do 5?" And I'm like, "I'll try it." And he goes, "I need you to try it for 30 days. If you miss a day, I want you to start over." So I did it. And I'm telling you, transformation. Wait until you do it. And I'd love to hear from anybody who's willing to take the challenge. 5 minutes every day. All you're gonna do is nothing. That's all you're gonna do. He said, "Wit, don't meditate, don't try to breathe, just sit there. That's it. Just sit with yourself for 5 minutes." Now, what I started doing was tuning into what the voice was doing. Was I thinking happy thoughts? Was I stressed about worry? Where does the mind go? And one of my besties with the 3-year-old I mentioned earlier who I went and stayed with her,
Mhm.
I've witnessed her raise her little girl like a fucking boss. I mean, this woman is incredible, and what she does is distract her child. "Oh, look over here, look over here." She doesn't punish, rarely. She is someone who refocuses the baby. So my invitation while you're in there and you start noticing these thoughts that are not productive, that are not healthy, that are about things that you have no control over. What if you took a sober second and redirected to what would it be like if I had everything I've ever dreamed of in my life? What if, Eric, if all your dreams come true, everything you've ever wanted, physical, mental, financial, spiritual, all the love in the world, the biggest community. This is a $1 billion mastermind. What does that feel like in your body? What's it feel like?
So part of what's important, what I'm hearing, or at least I'm going to try to reflect if I'm hearing you correctly, is because you say you could just sit there. in silence. But if I already imagine, 'cause I've tried this before, I immediately just start thinking about the projects I'm on in business and work and, how I'm gonna solve this problem, all that stuff. So what I hear you saying potentially is to throw another question in your mind to try to get out of that workflow and put yourself in a different state.
Well, yes, yes, and so, Eric, the reason why I was asking what does it feel like is because sometimes some people have trouble feeling into the energy of something. They can see the material thing, they can imagine what it's gonna look like, but they can't feel it. So what I guess I would invite people to start doing is, first of all, when you're in that chatter, just sit with yourself for the first couple days. Don't do anything and just listen to where your mind goes. But feel what it does to your body when you think those thoughts. Does it make you feel energized? Does it make you feel good? Are you exhausted? Does it stress you out? What does the thought actually do? So here's what I'm suggesting is you do a study on yourself. Just get to know what happens when I just let myself stop for 5 minutes. Do I stop? Do I have a button? Is it always on? Because that is a recipe for burnout, yes or no?
Mhm.
So if you can just sit with yourself and then what I've graduated to over time, if you do 5 minutes every day, and then just start breathing. And what I like to do is I imagine I do a Kegel, and for the men out there, you squeeze, just squeeze down there because that's where we create life.
Mhm.
And you put imagine a light coming through your body with your breath, whatever color you want to imagine, pull it all the way up and imagine the light. Now you're in your arc field. Now you're just imagining playing with light. Now you're distracting yourself from those thoughts. So start breathing and imagining light running through your body, even if it's just for 5 minutes a day. Could you imagine what that frequency change for that short of a time could shift? Can you
Mm.
imagine it or are you resistant? Tell me the truth, Eric. I really want to know.
Yeah, no, I think it's hard when you're so, people like me just so black and white, solution oriented. Do this, you see this, you see the end result. So to put yourself into that when there's already such limited time, being the dad running around doing this, 100 million things going on, and not getting an immediate like, okay, I could use those 5 minutes and be starting my workout or doing the work or nailing a few tasks out, which have immediate, ROE, if you will, or ROI, and the way you're looking at it. That's the hard part. So it's more of a not looking for that right away and saying, I'm just going to do this to do this because I have to have faith in the outcome is going to be a positive one.
Trust. So what Dr. Joe Dispenza calls is trusting. He calls it the void. So the thing that I think most of us have trouble with as entrepreneurs is we want to know what's going to happen. We want to know because that
Sure.
trust, we want to have clarity. You want to know exactly what's going to happen here. What if we didn't? What if you took the time out every day to get quiet, but to feel into what does it feel like to have everything I've ever wanted and dreamed of in my life? Because I used to help people, well, I still do help people lose weight. If they can't imagine what it feels like to be at their best life, I am not going to be able to get them there.
Yeah.
So when you start realizing that this game, this mental game that we've all been playing, we are evolving as a species. It's 2026. The new medicine is mind medicine. Shut that thing down. Start managing the mind and the energy so that you get to choose what you're running through the vehicle because that's what creates health and creates disease. And I mean, Louise Hay, think of all the people who've already proven this. It's not new information.
Yeah.
I am just surprised wildly that more people aren't putting investment into a spiritual practice like you with babies. I mean, if you try it for 30 days, I would love to hear where you squeeze it in because you can find time, because you are creating time all the time. You must have babysitters or date night,
Mhm.
even if you and your wife just sat together and did some eye gazing and breathing together. I mean, there's a lot of places to take this to. I'm not going to get into that right now. And I know we spent a lot of time on the meditation part, but if I can get one person, just one person to start meditating, I used to have doctors tell me all the time, Whitney, we're in the Bible Belt. I don't want you to talk to me ever again about meditating. And Dr. Joe Dispenza has scientific studies to prove that the microbiome in the brain, they change when you meditate. Oh, you can have everything you've ever wanted if you start controlling and managing your fear. Like people are always afraid and think about all the entrepreneurs, the risk. It's easy to drop into the anxiety of what's going to go wrong.
Mhm.
Why don't we drop into the joy like your babies do I mean, you got your kids, they're playing all the time. They're imagining their best life. When did we forget that? So that I'm gonna put a little cap on that as a challenge. Everyone here that is listening, every day, and Eric, I'm gonna give you the challenge first. I did try to get George to do it. I will say that there's a guy in
Mhm.
my chapter. I've messaged him on WhatsApp. I don't know that I had a true commitment, but if you do it for 30 days, see what happens. I
Yep.
don't know if it's gonna be instantaneous for you, Eric. It could be because the people who are part of this group are fucking powerful, and they're only using one part of their body instead of using the whole thing and letting it all synchronize together and seeing if anything could change. Could it get easier?
Love it. Maybe we'll do a community meditation challenge. We'll talk to people about that at the event. All right, so let's no, thank you for all that. That's awesome. Really insightful. Got me thinking a lot. Let's talk about your upcoming book, Triggered.
Yeah.
Tell me what the key core concepts of Triggered the book is, and what do you teach and what do you talk about, and when's it going to be out there for us to check it out?
Okay. Well, the chapter that helped me start the book was the man who showed me who my father is. And what happened in that relationship was a consciousness that I've never had before, where I could see my triggers, where I could actually witness myself. And there was one experience, and it's in the book where I lost my shit. And I just sat in it and I allowed myself to feel it. And I realized it was a connection to a childhood thing that happened that he just tripped over. It wasn't him. He wasn't intentional. He's actually a decent guy, but not a fit for me because the triggers keep coming. And I'm like, oh my gosh, this person does not feel like a match for me. They can't meet me. They can kick over my triggers, but can't meet me in my emotions. So I realized that wasn't a match. But what I loved about the opportunity to share about the triggers was when I went to Hoffman. So I've been a coach for 24 years. I went to Hoffman, I think 6 years ago. Does anyone know? You know what the Hoffman Institute
Mm.
is?
You can explain,
So
bro.
people have, come to me for years, my coaches, the doctors, I treat everybody. You made me feel this way. And they get upset with you, because you say something that creates tension or causes injury. And it wasn't intentional. Like I was always like, oh my God, geez, I'm so sorry. And then I feel terrible that I did that. But really, I was just tripping over their triggers. And that's what Hoffman taught me. So at Hoffman, we had an opportunity. Hoffman is a great program for deep growth. They take away your phone for a week and you're in it with a bunch of other people. At the end of this event, they give you a chance to line up and they give you a worksheet on how to tell somebody that someone else triggered something in you. I have such a long line of people. And they came up, but this time, what they said instead of you made me feel, they said, when you said this, it triggered a memory of my controlling mother who used to do this and this. And this is how I put a story around it. And then I projected onto you that you were the person who was creating this pain. But when I took a step back and I dug it up, I realized that you were just bringing it to the surface for me. And that was so healing for me. And it
Wow.
was mind blowing because who knew that we're all just pushing down all of the stuff from our childhood? Even if, Eric, you're probably a fabulous dad, but even a child who doesn't realize that their parents aren't gone or doesn't realize that the parents are coming back, they can get traumatized and not realize it. So everyone has triggers, everyone does. And most people blame whoever it is that trips over their triggers that's in front of them, rather than allowing that rage, that anger, that sadness, that shame to come up and to feel it, to breathe into it, to allow it to come through. Feelings last about 90 seconds and then to release it. Take a sober second. My invitation to anybody who knows their triggers, do not act while you are triggered.
Mm.
If you do not have to, because what do you think happens if you're in fear, anger, panic, and you take an action? What do you think it's going to create?
Say or do something really stupid that you're going to regret.
We've all done it, yes or no?
Yep.
Every single person has done it. I've just done an exceptional amount of it because I was a big drunk and then I got sober and then I started working with people
Yeah.
for
Do not
weeks.
make decisions while you're heavily emotional. Yep. Learn those lessons.
Yeah. So when you have that ability to take a breath, step away from the mind of what's about to explode, and you're also centered and grounded because you've done your energy work to clear your space,
Mhm.
then it's not an emotional ride. I feel like this is one last point. We all feel like because food is so easy, we're out of survival, that life should be easy. What if the parts that are challenging are the actual opportunities? Because think about any hard time in our lives, the worst time, the dark night of your soul. On the other side of it, most of the time, it's something beyond your wildest dreams, yes or no?
Yeah.
Sometimes. So if we could learn how to manage our emotions, take a sober second, allow the trigger to pass and not act on the trigger because
Mhm.
we've done our work, then we can get clarity. Then you might just want to pull out one of these and start writing down, when was the first time I felt that way? Where is this actually coming from? Because the anger and rage or the sadness and the emotions that I'm feeling in this moment cannot be because of this conversation.
What's really behind it? Yeah. What's triggering me? I love it. All right. So when is this book hopefully going to get going?
Well, I talked to a dear friend yesterday who's written 5 books, and there's lots of people who have wanted to help me publish the book for $30,000. And, I don't really care if it's a bestseller. I really want to do this along with my 6-week course that I'm going to launch, where I take people through tracking their triggers. And I'm going to walk people through. In the book, it's stories and some of the works that I've done over the years and the Four Agreements by Don Miguel Ruiz. I mean, I know you've worked with Brian Tracy, Eric. So you are deep in the personal development, personal growth. John Assaraf, who's one of your members, he was one of my first mentors. I got to see The Secret live at one of his events. I mean, I have been exposed, fortunately, I'm so blessed to some of the masters in personal growth and development. And now I feel like because I've practiced, I've
It's your
become
turn. That's right. Your turn to share it all. Yay. Well, good. Well, on that note, is there anything that I should have asked that I didn't get a chance to ask that you wish I had that we can share today?
I think that you are doing a fabulous job. If you think about your mastermind, Eric, I would just ask the question where, we all come together in that environment. Do you think that adding a spiritual side would add to it or take away? I don't know. I'm not suggesting you do it, but you asked if I had a question, and that was one of them that came up because I get so high in the rooms. Like, it's such a frequency vibe for me because they're talking about AI at a level that I can't even reach, if I'm being honest. The frequency is way, way, way beyond where I'm at. But I've always had a belief that if I spend time in rooms with people who are smarter than me, that eventually some of it's going to absorb and I will be able to apply it. So, you've got these people who are just masters at what they do, including yourself. And there isn't that aspect of, let's take a minute, let's set the container, let's take a breath. I'm not criticizing at all. But when I spend time in my more spiritual environments, and even with some business stuff, there is that moment where, settle in, let go of the day. We just got here. What's your moment? What do you want to focus on today? The intention moment. So I know that it's all about business and it's exciting. And I don't know that's where you want to land. And it doesn't have to be. But that would be my question for you. Is there a part of your life that if you started to access that spiritual side, that would express through all of your work and your family? I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, it can be as far as the community. Look, my job is to find amazing, heart centered, the right kind of people. And then what's needed by the people will emerge. And, as long as we can create an environment to facilitate and create those things, then I don't see why a lot of these things aren't going to be popping up. So I think there's going to be room for a lot of the stuff that we're talking about. Don't know. I mean, it's entrepreneurs are entrepreneurs. And I think we all need a lot of the same things and some stuff we just don't know it yet.
Mm.
So it's people like you who maybe you're not gonna be on stage teaching AI like a Mike will same, but you're also gonna be it doesn't mean that you're not equivalent to a need we all have by the things you're teaching, such as the stuff we talked about here. So it's just a matter
Mm.
of, we all need this stuff, let's continue to lift each other up in whatever shape or form that comes in.
Yes, and I wish I would have said Mike Filsaime because that man is an expert and he's so passionate, excited about it. It gets me passionate, excited. Like, I mean,
Totally.
he's the reason that I joined because he was teaching and I was like, I need to know this stuff. I mean, this is like a language that I'd never ever heard before. And especially from somebody who's like, like, oh, and look at this. He's like a kid in a candy store. He's so excited to teach it.
Yeah,
And when
yeah,
somebody's that passionate about what they do, it's very contagious, which is why
yeah.
you're doing so well, Eric, which is why you
Thank
draw on
you.
such great people.
Well, thank
Congratulations.
you. Well, thank you, and thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was such a pleasure having from you, learning from you, and look forward to chatting more as a child enters the room.
Bye, Eric. Thank you.
And that's a wrap from the Speakeasy podcast. If something sparked for you, don't keep it to yourself. Share it, review it, and pass it to the one person who needs to hear this right now. Want in on the real mastermind? Tap the link in the show notes to apply. Until next time, keep scaling, stay sharp, and don't be the smartest one in the room.